Imagine a world where the most beautiful lie is packaged in velvet and gold, sitting innocently on your kitchen counter, waiting to explode your entire reality. This isn't just a story, it's a stark mirror reflecting the shocking fragility of trust, the insidious nature of manipulation, and the breathtaking power of human resilience when pushed to its absolute breaking point. Today, we're diving deep into a narrative that begins with an anniversary gift and ends with an empire of self-worth rebuilt from the ashes of betrayal. Get ready, because Zara Thompson's journey is about to redefine what it means to be truly free. The scene opens on what should have been a morning steeped in the quiet joy of a milestone, a 5th wedding anniversary. Instead, the morning sunlight, usually a comforting presence in Zara Thompson's suburban home, seemed to mock the burgundy velvet box on the kitchen counter. It wasn't merely a gift, it was a Trojan horse, its golden ribbon a cruel embellishment concealing the weapon poised to dismantle Zara's world. Inside, nestled where a sparkling piece of jewelry should have been, were divorce papers, legal documents, official seals, a cold, hard confirmation of the unimaginable. The sheer audacity of it, the calculated cruelty, is almost physically jarring. To present divorce papers, the very instrument of dissolution, as an anniversary gift, a symbol of commitment and continuity, speaks volumes about a profound lack of empathy and almost theatrical villainy. It forces us to confront a chilling question. What kind of person orchestrates such a betrayal, not just of a marriage, but of the very concept of a sacred day? Zara's hands, we are told, trembled. Of course they would. This wasn't just a revelation. It was an earthquake beneath her feet. The note inside, penned in Robert's familiar handwriting, added another layer to the psychological assault. Happy anniversary, sweetheart. I hope this gives you the freedom you've been looking for. Freedom? The word hung in the air, a twisted, bitter irony. What freedom could she possibly be looking for that involved the destruction of her life as she knew it? This moment perfectly captures the profound disorientation that comes with such a shock. Your mind races, desperately trying to reconcile the familiar with the horrific. It's like watching a movie scene where the protagonist is told an impossible truth, and for a split second, you hope it's a dream, a mistake, a cruel joke. But the lawyer's signatures, the official seals, they were undeniably real. This wasn't a blip. It was a deliberate, devastating, calculated strike. The shattering of her coffee mug, spilling hot liquid across her bare feet, becomes a visceral metaphor for the breaking of her life. The physical pain barely registered, eclipsed by the internal cataclysm. Sinking into a kitchen chair, clutching the papers, her marriage reduced to cold legal jargon. Robert Charles Thompson versus Zara Marie Thompson. Irreconcilable differences, division of assets. The words blurred, reflecting the chaos in her mind and the tears in her eyes. It's in moments like these that the ordinary becomes surreal, the familiar, alien. Have you ever experienced a moment where a space you called home suddenly felt foreign, tainted? Zara felt it intensely. The walls themselves seemed to whisper of the betrayal. Every photograph, every shared memory in that space became evidence not of a life lived, but of a lie. The vacation photos from Miami, where Robert had been attentive and loving, the anniversary card from just 3 days prior, promising many more years of happiness. They all morphed into ghostly reminders of a carefully constructed deception. This is a common tactic of manipulators, creating an elaborate facade of normalcy and affection while meticulously planning their exit, making the eventual revelation all the more crushing. The victim is left questioning not just the present, but the entire past, wondering if any of it was ever real. The question gnawing at Zara, the one that often torments those blindsided by betrayal, is, how long? How long had he been planning this? Had he been making love to her, planning their future, all while simultaneously preparing to dismantle it? The emotional dissonance is unbearable, a cruel twist of the knife. This isn't just about infidelity. It's about the profound violation of trust that permeates every shared moment, every intimate gesture. Her gaze then falls on their wedding photo, a snapshot of radiant happiness and hope. She, beautiful in white, he, handsome in black, his arm around her, a wide, genuine smile. Or was it genuine? The memory of that day, once so pure, was now sullied by doubt. The past, once a comforting reservoir of shared joy, became a minefield of questions. This mental reevaluation is a crucial, albeit painful, stage for victims of gaslighting and manipulation, where one begins to piece together the real narrative from the fragmented memories. The jarring sound of Robert's key in the front door, unexpectedly early, shatters her stunned silence. He was supposed to be at work. His casual whistle, the newspaper under his arm, the mundane rituals of a normal day suddenly rendered grotesque. He stopped short, seeing her in her pajamas, clutching the papers. His simple, "Oh, you found them?" delivered as if he'd merely forgotten something on the stove, is a chilling testament to his detachment. It's the response of someone who views the destruction of a life as a minor logistical oversight, not a cataclysmic emotional event. Zara's voice, initially a whisper, grew in strength. "I found them, Robert. What is this? What are you doing to us?" His casual loosening of his tie, a gesture she'd seen 1,000 times, now felt different, imbued with a cold, strategic intent. He was preparing for battle, not a conversation. "Zara, we need to talk," he said, his voice calm, measured, almost unnervingly so. "I know this is shocking, but I think when you really consider it, you'll realize this is the best thing for both of us." The best thing? For Zara, it felt like a nightmare. Her loving husband had transformed into a stranger. This is where the true horror often lies, not just in the act of betrayal, but in the sudden, terrifying realization that the person you thought you knew, the one you built your world around, never truly existed. This can be more traumatizing than the divorce itself. She reminded him, "Robert, today is our anniversary, our 5th wedding anniversary. I made dinner reservations at Antonio's. I bought you a watch. I was planning to tell you that I've been thinking about starting a family." Here, Zara reveals the depth of her continued commitment, her innocent plans for their shared future, unaware of the chasm that had opened beneath them. A flicker, perhaps of guilt or regret, crossed Robert's face, but it was fleeting, quickly suppressed. Manipulators are adept at presenting brief flashes of emotion to maintain a veneer of humanity, only to quickly revert to their calculated stance. His justification was chilling. That's exactly why this is the right time. Before we make any more commitments we can't keep. Before we bring children into a marriage that isn't working. A marriage that isn't working? Zara's voice rose, uncontrolled. "Robert, what marriage are you talking about? We just got back from vacation. We've been happy. We've been making plans. What marriage isn't working?" Marriage. This is a classic gaslighting technique. The manipulator denies the shared reality, attempting to sow doubt in the victim's mind about their own perceptions and experiences. Zara felt they were happy, were making plans. Robert, however, rewrites history, invalidating her feelings and memories. He paints a picture where she is naive, blind, or simply wrong about their relationship, subtly shifting the blame onto her for failing to recognize this unworking marriage. He then launched into a series of accusations. "Zara, be honest with yourself. We've grown apart. We want different things. You're always working late, always focused on your career. We barely spend time together anymore." This hit her like a physical blow. She worked late. She had been promoted to senior marketing executive for their future, for the house they wanted, the family they planned. She believed he was proud of her success. This is a common pattern in abusive relationships. The abuser undermines the victim's achievements, twisting positive attributes into flaws. Her ambition, once a source of pride, now became a distraction, a reason for their alleged estrangement. "I work hard for us," she said, her voice breaking. "For our future. You said you were proud of me. You said you supported my career." His response was laced with a chilling undertone. "I do support your career. That's why I think you'll be happier focusing on it completely without the distractions of a marriage that's holding you back." Distractions. He called their marriage, their shared life, a distraction. This is a profound dehumanization, reducing their union to a mere obstacle in his path. It's also a way to justify his actions, framing his betrayal as an act of liberation for her rather than a selfish act of destruction. Looking around the living room, Zara saw furniture, art, plants. Everything spoke of a life built together, a shared story. But apparently, only one of them had been committed to that story. This realization that you've been living a unilateral dream is profoundly isolating. It's the moment you realize you've been investing in a fictional shared future while your partner has been charting an entirely separate course. Then came the deeper cut. "There's something else," Robert said, and Zara's stomach dropped. She knew it would be worse. "I've been seeing someone else." His voice remained steady, calm, as if discussing the weather. "It wasn't planned. It just happened, but it's made me realize that what we have isn't real love. It's just habit." The room spun. An affair. While she was working for their future, planning for babies, he was with another woman. The betrayal amplified, became three-dimensional. "Who?" she whispered. "Jessica from my office. She's helped me understand what I've been missing in our marriage, what we both deserve to have." Jessica. Robert's secretary. Blonde hair, bright eyes, always laughing a little too hard at his jokes. Zara had even felt sorry for her, thinking she was just eager to please her boss. She never imagined Jessica was eager to please her husband in entirely different ways. "How long?" Zara asked, though dread filled her. "About 8 months." The casualness of his admission was devastating. 8 months. While Zara was planning their future, Robert was meticulously planning their end, weaving a web of lies. This isn't just a lapse in judgment, it's a systematic deception. The silence that stretched between them now was not empty. It was filled with the deafening sound of 5 years of marriage dissolving in real time. She looked at the man she loved, the man she planned to grow old with, and saw a complete stranger. This experience is common for many who face betrayal. The person they loved essentially dies in their eyes, replaced by an imposter. His next words, a testament to his cold calculation. "I want you to know that I've tried to be fair in the division of assets. The house will need to be sold, of course, but you'll get your share. Your lawyer can look over everything." My lawyer. He expected her to get a lawyer, to haggle over their life as if it were a business transaction. It was a further demonstration of his dehumanization of their relationship, reducing it to mere numbers and legalities. The burgundy velvet box still sat on the kitchen counter, its golden ribbon now a garish, cruel mockery. "Get out," Zara said quietly. He tried to continue. "Zara, I know you're upset, but we need to discuss the practical matters." "Get out of my house," she said louder, a new strength in her voice. "Get out now." He stood, straightened his tie, a gesture of reasserting control, and suggested he'd return tomorrow when you've had time to process this. But Zara was done processing on his timeline. "There is no timeline," she said, her voice now steady, cold, and clear. "There is no discussion. There is no us. You made that choice for both of us when you decided to betray everything we built together." As Robert gathered his briefcase and walked toward the door, something shifted within Zara. The shock and pain were still there, but beneath them, something harder and more determined began to grow. Anger. Not a wild, desperate anger, but a cold, focused resolve. "Robert!" she called, just as his hand reached the door handle. He turned back, and for a fleeting moment his expression softened, as if seeing her clearly for the first time. "You have no idea what you just did," she said quietly. "You have no idea who you just decided to go to war with." His expression hardened again, retreating behind his facade. "It's not a war, Zara. It's just the end of something that should have ended a long time ago." His dismissal was designed to diminish her, to deny her agency and validity. After he left, the house was silent. Her home now, she supposed. The last pieces of her old life crumbled away. But as she picked up the burgundy velvet box and threw it in the trash, a profound realization dawned. She wasn't broken. She was angry. And angry, she was discovering, felt a lot more powerful than heartbroken. This is a pivotal moment for many survivors of abuse and betrayal. The transition from victimhood to anger is often the first step towards reclaiming power and agency. Anger, when channeled constructively, can be a powerful motivator for change and justice. 3 years earlier, Zara had believed in a fairy tale. She met Robert at a company networking event. He was confident, successful, charming, a master of making her feel like the most interesting woman in the room. Their courtship was straight out of a romantic movie. Flowers, surprise trips, candlelight dinners, promises of a future together that she never questioned. This is the insidious beginning of many manipulative relationships, the love bombing phase, where the manipulator overwhelms the victim with affection and grand gestures, creating an intense bond that later makes it difficult to see the red flags. Now, sitting in her empty house with divorce papers scattered on the coffee table, Zara wondered how she had missed all the signs. The fairy tale, she now realized, was a carefully constructed lie, and the signs had been there. She began to see them with new, painful clarity. He had gradually discouraged her from seeing her college friends, suggesting they were too immature for her career ambitions. He convinced her to quit her gym membership, where she had made close friendships, arguing the fee was too expensive when they were saving for a house. He had slowly, systematically, isolated her from everyone in her life except him and his circle of friends. Couples where the wives seemed to exist primarily to support their husbands' careers and social lives. This pattern of isolation is a hallmark of emotional abuse and manipulation. It's a subtle but powerful way to gain control. By slowly chipping away at a person's support network, the manipulator ensures that the victim has fewer and fewer external perspectives to challenge the abuser's narrative. The frog in boiling water analogy fits perfectly here. The changes are so gradual, so seemingly benign at first, that the victim doesn't realize they are being trapped until it's too late. They rationalize it as devotion, commitment, or just being a good partner. Zara had been so focused on building what she thought was their perfect life that she hadn't noticed she was building a prison where Robert held all the keys. With new eyes, she walked through their house. The furniture, which they had chosen together, was actually all Robert's taste. Expensive, traditional, designed to impress business associates, not create a comfortable home. The artwork reflected his preferences for bland, safe pieces. Even the color scheme, all beiges and browns, was chosen for how it would photograph for his real estate magazine profiles. Where was she in this house? Where were her preferences, her personality, her dreams reflected? The answer was a stark, crushing emptiness. This is the silent erasure of self that occurs in controlling relationships. The victim gradually loses their identity, their tastes, their very presence, absorbed into the abuser's world. Her phone buzzed. For a moment, her heart leaped. Robert? An explanation? An apology? A terrible mistake? Instead, it was her sister, Nana. "How was the anniversary dinner last night? Did Robert like the watch?" Zara stared at the message. How could she condense the destruction of her entire life into a text? She couldn't. She called Nana. Nana, Zara's younger sister, was everything Zara wasn't. Impulsive, outspoken, suspicious where Zara was trusting. But she was fiercely protective of her older sister and had always harbored doubts about Robert, though she kept them quiet out of respect for Zara's happiness. This dynamic is incredibly common in families with a loved one in an abusive relationship. Often those on the outside see the red flags more clearly, but hesitate to intervene, fearing it might jeopardize the relationship or alienate their loved one. Nina's cheerful greeting quickly turned to concern as Zara's voice conveyed the magnitude of what had happened. "What's wrong, Zara? What happened?" "He gave me divorce papers," Zara said simply, "for our anniversary. Divorce papers in a gift box." The silence on the other end of the line was heavy. Then Nana's response came, resolute and powerful. "I'm coming over, right now. Don't move. Don't make any decisions. Don't sign anything. I'm leaving work and I'll be there in 20 minutes. And this is the moment when a strong support system becomes absolutely critical. Nana didn't offer platitudes. She offered immediate, decisive action and protection. When Nina arrived, she immediately pulled Zara into a fierce hug. "Tell me everything," she said, guiding Zara to the couch. "Start from the beginning and don't leave anything out." As Zara recounted the morning's events, Nana's expression shifted from shock to anger, then to something akin to rage. 8 months, Nana repeated, a simmering fury in her voice. "He's been cheating on you for 8 months with that little blonde secretary, and he had the nerve to serve you divorce papers on your anniversary." "It gets worse," Zara said, pulling out her phone. "I've been looking at our financial accounts since he left. Nina, he's been planning this for a long time. He's moved money around, opened accounts I didn't know about. He's been preparing for this divorce while I was planning our future." Nana, scrolling through the financial information, grew darker with each screen. "Zara, this is financial abuse," she declared. "He's been systematically moving your joint assets to protect them from the divorce settlement. Look at this. He withdrew $20,000 from your savings account last month. Did you know about that?" Zara felt sick. She hadn't known about any of it. She had trusted Robert completely with their finances, believing they were working towards shared goals. Instead, he had been methodically preparing to leave her with as little as possible. This is a horrifying realization for many victims of financial abuse. Trust, once freely given, is discovered to have been a weapon used against them. Financial abuse is a powerful tool of control, often leaving victims without the means to escape or rebuild their lives independently. It's not just about money, it's about power and freedom. "There's more," Zara said, showing Nana text messages she found on Robert's iPad, which he'd forgotten. "Look at these messages between him and Jessica. They've been planning this for months. They already have an apartment together. They've been laughing about how clueless I am." Nana read the messages, her face reddening. "Listen to this," Nana read aloud. "She actually thinks we're happy. She's talking about having babies. It would be funny if it wasn't so pathetic." That's what Zara's loving husband said about her 3 weeks ago. The cruelty was a physical blow. Not only had Robert been cheating and planning to leave her, but he had been mocking her love, laughing about her dreams for their future. And Jessica's response, "Don't worry, baby. Soon you'll be free of her, and we can have the life we deserve. She'll be fine. She's got her little career to keep her busy." Her little career. This phrase, dripping with dismissive condescension, perfectly encapsulates the contempt Robert and Jessica held for Zara's professional achievements. Zara, a senior marketing executive at a prestigious firm, making almost as much as Robert, recognized as a top professional in her field. Yet to them, her decade of hard work was just a little career, a convenient hobby to keep her busy while Robert pursued his real life. This kind of belittlement is a classic tactic to undermine a victim's self-worth and independence, making them feel less capable of surviving on their own. "I need a lawyer," Zara said, surprised by the steadiness of her voice. "I need the best divorce lawyer in the city." Nana knew just the person. Carmen Morrison, a college friend, now a partner at Morrison Klein and Associates, known for taking down cheating husbands who try to hide assets. This connection to a fierce advocate is another crucial element for survivors. Having someone in your corner who understands the legal landscape and is willing to fight dirty on your behalf can be life-changing. As Nana made the call, Zara walked to their bedroom and began to see their life together with truly new eyes. Robert's missing suits, his favorite shoes and accessories. This wasn't a sudden decision. He had been gradually moving his things out for weeks, maybe months. In his nightstand, she found receipts for expensive dinners at restaurants they'd never visited together, hotel stays when he was supposedly at business conferences, jewelry purchases she had never received. The evidence of his double life was everywhere, carefully hidden, but not carefully enough. Her phone rang. Carmen's name on the screen. "Zara, I just talked to Nana," Carmen said without preamble. "I want you to listen to me very carefully. Do not sign anything. Do not agree to anything. And do not leave that house. As of right now, it's your marital home, and you have every right to be there." This legal advice is invaluable and highlights a common pitfall. Victims often flee their homes in distress, inadvertently weakening their legal position. Carmen's instruction to stay put and not make rash decisions is crucial for protecting her rights. "Can you come to my office tomorrow morning?" Carmen asked. "Yes," Zara replied. "Carmen, how bad is this? How much trouble am I in?" Carmen's response was electrifying. "Based on what Nana told me, you're not in trouble at all. Your husband, on the other hand, is about to learn that there are consequences for financial fraud and adultery." There was something in Carmen's voice that sounded almost excited. "Bring everything. Bank statements, credit card bills, any evidence of the affair, copies of all the financial documents you can find. We're going to take him apart piece by piece." After Zara hung up, she felt something she hadn't experienced since finding those divorce papers. Hope. Not hope for reconciliation. That dream had died. But hope for justice. Hope for a future where she wasn't a victim. Naina found her in the closet, pulling Robert's remaining clothes from drawers. "What are you doing?" Naina asked. "Packing his things," Zara said calmly. "He wants a divorce. He can have it. But he's not going to live here while he's sleeping with his secretary and planning my financial destruction." "Where are you going to send his stuff?" Naina asked. Zara smiled, and it wasn't a happy smile, but one of resolute determination. "To Jessica's apartment. I have the address from his text messages. I think it's time she got a real look at what she's won." This act, sending his belongings to the mistress, is a powerful symbolic reclaiming of her space and her narrative. It's a statement of agency, a refusal to be silently discarded. As they packed Robert's belongings, including items clearly expensive and important to him, Zara felt her old self dissolving, replaced by something new. The woman who had trusted blindly, who had put her husband's needs before her own, who had built her life around someone else's dreams, was gone. In her place was someone harder, smarter, and much more dangerous to anyone who tried to take advantage of her. Robert thought he was getting a quiet, easy divorce from a woman too heartbroken to fight back. He was about to learn how wrong he was. This transformation from victim to empowered survivor is the core message of Zara's journey. It's a testament to the fact that sometimes the greatest adversity unlocks unforeseen strength. Robert returned the next evening, expecting to find Zara broken and compliant, ready to discuss the practical matters. Instead, he found his belongings packed in garbage bags on the front porch, and the locks changed. Zara watched from the living room window as he tried his key, his confidence evaporating. She let him knock and ring for 5 minutes before opening the door, but she didn't invite him in. "What is this?" Robert demanded, gesturing at the bags. "Zara, this is childish. We're adults. We can handle this situation like civilized people." The irony of him calling for civilized behavior after his calculated deception was almost comical. "Civilized people don't cheat on their spouses for 8 months while planning secret divorces," Zara replied calmly. Her composure, in stark contrast to his rising panic, showed how much she had already shifted. "Civilized people don't hide assets or mock their partners to their affair partners. I found your text messages, Robert, all of them." Robert's face went pale, then red. "You went through my private messages? That's a violation of my privacy." His attempt to pivot to his violated privacy, after all his betrayals, was a classic abuser's tactic: deflection and gaslighting. "Your privacy?" Zara laughed, a cold, sharp sound. "You left your iPad here with all your messages backed up to the cloud. But let's talk about violations, shall we? Let's talk about the $20,000 you withdrew from our joint savings account last month. Let's talk about the secret bank accounts. Let's talk about the hotel receipts and jewelry purchases for your girlfriend." He stammered, "Those are business expenses." "The hotel receipts that show you and Jessica checking in as Mr. and Mrs. Thompson," Zara interrupted. "Were those business expenses too?" Robert's composure shattered. The smooth, confident man she had married disappeared, replaced by someone cornered and desperate. "Look, Zara, I know this is messy, but we can work this out," he pleaded, stepping closer. "We don't need to make this ugly. We can both walk away with our dignity intact." "Our dignity?" Zara's laugh was cold and sharp. "Robert, you gave me divorce papers in an anniversary gift. You've been cheating on me for most of our marriage. You've been stealing from our joint accounts and mocking me behind my back. What dignity exactly are you worried about preserving?" Her words were precise, cutting, exposing the hypocrisy of his plea. She was no longer accepting his distorted reality. She was laying bare the truth of his actions. "I never meant for it to happen this way," Robert said, almost sounding sincere. "Jessica and it just happened. We fell in love. Real love, not like what we had." This is another common justification from cheaters. They weren't cheating, they just found real love, diminishing the previous relationship to make their new one seem legitimate. "What we had wasn't real love?" Zara asked quietly. "The 5 years I spent building a life with you, supporting your career, planning our future together, that wasn't real?" "You know it wasn't," Robert said, and the brutal honesty in his voice was devastating. "We were comfortable together, but we were never really in love, not the way Jessica and I are." These words, though painful, also clarified something important for Zara. This man, standing on her doorstep, wasn't the person she had fallen in love with. That person had been an act, a performance designed to get what he wanted from her. The illusion was finally, completely shattered. This distinction is critical for healing. It allows the victim to grieve the illusion rather than the actual person, realizing the love they mourned was never truly reciprocated. "You're right," Zara said, and she saw surprise flicker across Robert's face. What we had wasn't real love. Real love involves honesty, loyalty, and respect. What we had was me loving an illusion while you used me to build the life you wanted until something better came along. She then dropped her own bombshell. "Zara, I met with a lawyer today. Carmen Morrison, you might know her. She's famous for destroying men who try to cheat their wives out of fair divorce settlements." Robert's face went white. "You hired Carmen Morrison?" "I did. And she's very interested in your financial activities over the past year. Apparently, moving marital assets to hide them from a spouse is considered fraud." "Who knew?" His quick denial, "I wasn't hiding anything. I was just being practical," was pathetic against Zara's newfound resolve. "The division of assets that you decided on unilaterally while planning to leave me," Zara retorted. "Robert, you have no idea how much trouble you're in. Carmen showed me some preliminary research. Did you know that adultery affects property division in this state? Did you know that financial misconduct can result in the guilty party receiving less than half of the marital assets?" She watched his mind race, calculating the cost of his betrayal. "What do you want?" he asked finally. "I want you to experience consequences," Zara said simply. "I want you to understand that actions have prices, and betrayal costs more than you thought you could afford." He tried to backtrack, suggesting they settle quietly without lawyers. "We could have done that," Zara agreed, "if you had been honest with me, instead of cheating and stealing. If you had treated me with the basic respect you'd give a stranger instead of mocking me behind my back. But you chose to handle this like a coward and a thief, so now we handle it like a legal matter." His desperate threat, "I'll contest everything. I'll make this as difficult as possible for you," was met with Zara's chilling response. "Please do. Contest everything. Make it difficult. Give Carmen more evidence of your character to present to the judge. Make it very clear to everyone involved exactly what kind of man you are." Then came the true colors. "You don't understand what you're doing," Robert said, his voice taking on a threatening tone. "I have connections in this city. I have influence. I can make things very hard for you professionally." This was the real Robert, the one who had hidden behind the charming facade, a man who would weaponize his professional network to silence and punish a woman who refused to be his victim. This is a terrifying reality for many, where the abuser extends their control beyond the personal relationship into the professional sphere. "Are you threatening me?" Zara asked quietly, a cold, sharp feeling settling in her chest. "I'm just pointing out the reality of the situation," he said, trying to soften the threat. "You might want to consider whether this is a fight you really want to have." Zara stepped back, began to close the door. "Robert," she said, her voice calm and clear, "you just made the biggest mistake of your life." She closed the door, locked it, and watched him load his garbage bags into his car. As he drove away, she called Carmen. "He threatened me," Zara said. "He threatened my career if I don't back down." "Did you record it?" Carmen asked immediately. "No, but my neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, was working in her garden the whole time. She hears everything that happens on this street." "Perfect," Carmen said. "We'll get a statement from her. Zara, this man just handed us everything we need to destroy him in court. Threatening a spouse during divorce proceedings, especially with professional retaliation, is exactly the kind of behavior that makes judges very angry." After Zara hung up, she sat in her living room, and the last vestiges of her old life dissolved completely. The woman who had loved Robert Thompson, who had built her world around making him happy, who had trusted him with her heart and her future, was gone. In her place was someone Robert had never met, someone he had underestimated completely, someone who was about to teach him the most expensive lesson of his life. A text buzzed. "This isn't over. You'll regret making this difficult. R." Zara screenshotted it, forwarded it to Carmen with more evidence, then blocked his number and poured herself a glass of wine. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. This moment is a powerful pivot. The threat, instead of terrifying her into submission, fueled her resolve. She was no longer reacting. She was strategizing. The days that followed blurred into a haze of lawyers, financial documents, and the slow, painful process of untangling a life Zara had thought was permanent. She discovered Robert had been even more thorough in his deception than she initially realized. He hadn't just moved money and hidden assets, he had also been systematically undermining her professionally for months. Carmen's investigation revealed he'd been spreading rumors about Zara's mental stability to mutual business contacts, suggesting she was unstable and unreliable due to marital stress. He even contacted her boss, expressing concern about her emotional state and suggesting she needed professional help. "He was setting you up," Carmen explained. "If you had signed those divorce papers without a fight, his narrative would have been that you were too unstable to handle the marriage ending, which would have supported his requests for a larger share of the assets. He's been planning this character assassination for months." The betrayal was so complete, so calculated, that Zara sometimes felt like she couldn't breathe. Every shared memory felt contaminated, every moment of happiness suspect. Had any of it been real? This is the agonizing work of reevaluating an entire past where every seemingly innocent interaction is re-examined through the lens of manipulation. The worst part was the isolation. Robert had been so successful in separating her from friends that Zara realized she had very few people to turn to besides Nena. Her college friends had drifted away after years of canceled plans and Robert's subtle discouragement. Her work friendships were mostly professional relationships that didn't extend into personal support during a crisis. She had built her entire social and emotional life around her marriage, and now that the marriage was revealed to be a lie, she was left with almost nothing. This highlights the devastating long-term impact of manipulative relationships, where victims are systematically stripped of their support systems, leaving them profoundly vulnerable. 3 weeks after this confrontation, Zara's boss, James Patterson, called her into his office. "Zara, I need to talk to you about something delicate," he said. "I've been getting some concerning calls about your personal situation." Zara's stomach dropped. "What kind of calls?" "Your husband contacted me several weeks ago, expressing concern about your mental health. He suggested that you were under severe stress and might need some time off. Then yesterday, I got a similar call from someone claiming to be a friend of yours, saying that you'd been acting erratically and that your personal problems were affecting your judgment." "James, none of that is true." Zara fought to keep her voice steady. "I'm going through a divorce, yes, but it hasn't affected my work performance at all." James reassured her. "Your work has been exemplary as always, but I wanted you to know that someone is actively trying to damage your professional reputation. I thought you should be aware so you can protect yourself." The systematic nature of Robert's attack was breathtaking. He wasn't content to just leave her. He wanted to destroy her completely, to ensure she had nothing left. This level of vindictiveness is often seen in high-conflict divorces involving narcissistic or abusive partners who seek to maintain control and punish their former spouse for daring to leave. "There's something else," James continued. "The Hartwell Industries account specifically requested that you be removed from their team. They said they had concerns about your stability. I refused, of course, but I wanted you to know that this campaign against you is reaching our clients." Hartwell Industries was one of her biggest accounts, built over 3 years of excellent work. If Robert could turn them against her, he could potentially destroy her entire career. This is where the battle moved beyond personal finances and into the very core of Zara's professional identity and livelihood. That night, Zara sat in her empty house with a bottle of wine and her laptop, trying to figure out how to rebuild a life that had been systematically demolished. She pulled up her resume for the first time in years, realizing how much of her professional identity had become tied to her current job. If Robert succeeded, where would she go? Her phone rang. "Nena. How are you holding up?" "I'm not, Nena. He's destroying everything. My job, my reputation, my financial security. I don't know how to fight someone who's been planning this for so long." "You fight by being smarter than he is," Nena said firmly. "Zara, you're one of the most intelligent, capable people I know. You built a successful career from nothing. You can do it again." "Can I?" Zara questioned. "I don't even know who I am without him. I spent 5 years becoming whoever he wanted me to be, and now I don't remember who I was before that." "I remember," Nana said softly. "You were fierce. You were ambitious. You were the person who moved to a new city with nothing but a suitcase and a business degree and built a life for yourself. That person is still in there, Zara. She's just been buried under 5 years of being told she wasn't enough." Nana's words were a lifeline, a powerful reminder of Zara's pre-Robert identity. This act of remembering and reclaiming one's past self is a vital step in healing from abusive relationships, where identity can be severely eroded. After they hung up, Zara walked to her closet and pulled out a box she hadn't opened in years. Inside were mementos from her life before Robert, photos with college friends, awards from her early career, letters of recommendation from professors who had believed in her potential. She had been someone before Robert Thompson, someone strong, independent, capable. The next morning, Zara called Carmen with a decision that surprised even herself. "I want to go on the offensive," she said. "I'm tired of just responding to his attacks. What can we do to make him face consequences for what he's done?" "Now you're talking," Carmen said, a smile in her voice. "I've been waiting for you to get angry instead of just hurt. Angry clients win cases." Carmen explained they could file for spousal support based on Robert's higher income, seek compensation for his financial misconduct, and pursue damages for his attempts to destroy her professionally. More importantly, they could make all of his behavior public record through the court proceedings. "The best part," Carmen continued, "is that his affair with his secretary creates liability for his company. If he was using company resources to conduct his affair, company time, company property, company travel, his employer could face harassment lawsuits. I think it's time we had a conversation with Robert's boss." For the first time in weeks, Zara felt something other than despair. Hope, perhaps, or revenge. Either way, it felt better than helpless sadness. This strategic shift from defense to offense is a critical turning point. It shows Zara reclaiming her agency and actively shaping her future, rather than passively enduring Robert's attacks. That afternoon, Zara made 2 important phone calls. The first was to her college roommate Sarah, whom she hadn't spoken to in 2 years. "Zara?" Sarah exclaimed. "I was just thinking about you. How are you? How's Robert?" "Robert and I are getting divorced," Zara said simply. "And I'm calling because I realized I've been a terrible friend, and I miss you." Sarah was quiet for a moment. "I miss you too," she said finally. "I always wondered what happened to you. You just sort of disappeared after you got married." They talked for an hour. By the end, Zara had an invitation to stay with Sarah anytime she needed to get away and plans to meet for dinner. The second call was to her former mentor, Dr. Elizabeth Warren, who had taught her graduate marketing courses and always encouraged her to think bigger about her career. "Zara Thompson," Dr. Warren said warmly, "I was hoping I'd hear from you someday. I've been following your career and I'm very proud of what you've accomplished." "Dr. Warren, I'm going through some major life changes and I'm thinking about what comes next professionally," Zara said carefully. "I'd love to get your advice about some opportunities I'm considering." "I'd be delighted to help," Dr. Warren said. "Why don't you come by my office next week? I'm always excited to talk with former students who are ready to take the next big step in their careers." As Zara hung up from that call, she realized something important had shifted. For the first time since finding those divorce papers, she wasn't just thinking about surviving Robert's attack. She was thinking about what kind of life she wanted to build after she had won the war he had started. The old Zara would have been content to salvage whatever she could from the wreckage, but the woman she was becoming had bigger plans. Robert wanted to destroy her. Fine. She would show him what destruction really looked like. But first, she would build something better than anything they had ever shared, something that belonged entirely to her. This renewed focus on rebuilding her network and career is not just about practical survival. It's about reclaiming her identity and charting a course that is entirely her own. It's a powerful act of self-love and defiance. Carmen Morrison's law office, occupying the entire 30th floor of a prestigious building, always made Zara feel like serious business happened there. 3 weeks into their working relationship, Zara had learned that Carmen's reputation for destroying unfaithful husbands was well earned. "I have good news and better news," Carmen announced. "Which do you want first?" "Good news," Zara said, needing something positive after another sleepless night. "Robert's employer has agreed to cooperate with our investigation into his misuse of company resources during his affair," Carmen said, sliding a folder across the desk. It turns out that Jessica wasn't just his secretary. She was also handling some of his personal accounts, which means she was being paid by his company to help facilitate their relationship. That's a clear violation of his employment contract. Zara opened the folder. Expense reports, travel receipts, email communications, a clear picture of Robert using his position and company resources to conduct his affair. Hotel stays that were supposedly business trips, but included charges for couples' spa treatments. Business dinners that were actually romantic dates with Jessica. Company credit card charges for jewelry and gifts that had never come home to Zara. "This is fraud," Zara said, looking through the documents. "He could lose his job over this." "That's the better news," Carmen said with a satisfied smile. "He already has. His company terminated him yesterday for violation of ethics policies and misuse of company resources. Apparently, they've been getting complaints from other employees about his relationship with Jessica for months, but they needed concrete evidence before they could act." Zara felt a rush of satisfaction so intense it was almost dizzying. After weeks of feeling like Robert held all the power, finally, he was facing real consequences. This vindication, though perhaps not the primary goal, is a powerful motivator and a significant step in the healing process. Seeing justice served can validate the victim's experience and begin to restore their sense of fairness in the world. "There's more," Carmen continued. "Without his job, Robert can't afford the apartment he and Jessica have been sharing. According to my investigator, he's been trying to borrow money from friends and family, but word has gotten out about why he was fired. Apparently, cheating on your wife with your secretary doesn't make you a very attractive loan candidate." "What about Jessica?" Zara asked, surprised by her own curiosity. "Also terminated, obviously. Turns out having an affair with your married boss while helping him defraud his wife isn't great for job security. She's moved back in with her parents." The image of Robert and Jessica, so confident in their superior love just weeks ago, now jobless and separated, gave Zara a sense of justice she hadn't felt since this nightmare began. Their fall from grace highlights the often unforeseen consequences of unethical behavior. "Now for the really interesting part," Carmen said, pulling out another folder. "My investigator has been digging into Robert's financial history, and we've discovered that this isn't his first time hiding assets during a relationship dissolution." "What do you mean?" "Robert was engaged before he met you to a woman named Patricia Mills. They broke up about 6 months before you two started dating, and there were some very messy financial entanglements. Patricia filed complaints with the state attorney general's office about Robert's handling of their joint investments, but she eventually dropped the charges and moved out of state." Zara felt sick. He's done this before. "It looks like it. And here's the thing about patterns of behavior. They're very compelling to judges. We're not just dealing with a man who made some bad choices during a difficult divorce. We're dealing with a man who has a history of financial manipulation and emotional abuse." Carmen's investigator had been thorough. Patricia's original complaint, bank records showing Robert's suspicious activities, even a copy of a restraining order Patricia had filed and then withdrawn. "I reached out to Patricia," Carmen continued. "She's willing to provide testimony. She said she always wondered if he would do to another woman what he did to her." Reading Patricia's story was like looking into a funhouse mirror of her own experience. The gradual isolation, the slow takeover of financial decisions, the cheating, the realization that the man she loved had been systematically preparing to destroy her life. "How did I not see this?" Zara asked, more to herself. "How did I not recognize what he was doing?" "Because he's good at it," Carmen said simply. "Zara, you're not stupid or naive. You're a successful, intelligent woman who fell in love with someone who turned out to be a skilled manipulator. That doesn't reflect poorly on you. It reflects poorly on him." This validation from Carmen is crucial, shifting the blame from Zara to Robert where it rightly belongs. Victims often internalize the abuser's narrative, blaming themselves for not seeing the signs. Carmen's phone rang. After listening, her expression grew increasingly pleased. "That was my investigator. Robert just filed for bankruptcy protection, claiming he can't afford his legal fees or temporary spousal support. But here's the interesting thing. He filed the paperwork from Jessica's parents' house using their address as his residence." "What does that mean?" "It means he's lying about his financial situation to try to avoid his obligations to you, and he's stupid enough to leave a paper trail. Filing false information in bankruptcy proceedings is a federal crime." Zara stared in amazement. "He just keeps making it worse for himself." "Men like Robert always do," Carmen said. "They're so convinced of their own cleverness that they can't see how obvious their schemes are to everyone else. They think they're master manipulators, but they're actually just bullies who've gotten away with their behavior for so long that they've forgotten other people can fight back." As Zara left Carmen's office, she felt lighter. For the first time, she wasn't just surviving, she was winning. She was beginning to understand something about herself she had forgotten. She wasn't just a victim. She was a formidable opponent, and Robert had seriously underestimated her. He had started a war, thinking he was fighting a broken, dependent woman. Instead, he found himself fighting someone who had nothing left to lose and everything to gain. Someone who was just getting started. This is the essence of true resilience, not just enduring, but transforming adversity into a catalyst for growth and empowerment. The coffee shop near Dr. Warren's office became Zara's unofficial headquarters for rebuilding her life. Over 2 weeks, she met with 5 different professional contacts, systematically reconnecting with people Robert had encouraged her to distance herself from. Each conversation was a revelation about how much of her own network she had abandoned for marital harmony. "I always wondered why you stopped returning my calls," said Marcus Chin, a former colleague. "You just seemed to disappear after you got married." "I thought I was being a good wife," Zara admitted. "Robert convinced me that maintaining too many outside friendships would take energy away from building our marriage." Marcus, now a senior vice president at a top marketing firm, shook his head. "Zara, that's classic isolation behavior. My ex-wife did the same thing to me. Gradually convinced me that all my friends were bad influences. It took me years after our divorce to rebuild those connections." These conversations, beyond rebuilding her network, were crucial for Zara's understanding of Robert's manipulation. Every person she reconnected with had a similar story about how she had gradually become less available, less present, less herself. This external validation helped Zara fully grasp the pattern of abuse she had endured. "I have a proposition for you," Marcus continued. "We're looking for someone to head up our new digital strategy division. It's a senior role, more money than you're making now, and complete creative control over building the department from the ground up. Interested?" 6 months ago, Zara would have said she needed to discuss it with Robert. Today she said, "Tell me more." The position was everything she had dreamed of professionally. A chance to build something new, use her skills, be recognized. It was also exactly the kind of opportunity Robert had always found reasons for her to avoid, arguing it would stress their marriage. "There's one catch," Marcus warned. "We'd want you to start immediately, like next week immediately. One of our biggest clients just fired their entire marketing team, and they need someone who can jump in and save their product launch." Next week? Her divorce wasn't final. Her current job was complicated by Robert's sabotage. Her life was in upheaval. Then she remembered Naina's words. "The best time to make a big change is when your life is already changing anyway." "I'll take it," Zara said, extending her hand. "When do I start?" This decision wasn't just about a new job. It was a declaration of independence, a leap of faith into a future she was actively creating for herself. The conversation with her current boss, James Patterson, was surprisingly easy. He had been dealing with the fallout from Robert's campaign against Zara's reputation for weeks and was happy to let her leave on good terms. "I hate to lose you," James said, "but I understand why you need a fresh start. Robert really did a number on your situation here, and it's going to take time to undo the damage he caused." "What kind of damage?" Zara asked, curious about the full extent of Robert's sabotage. "He contacted several of our biggest clients directly, suggesting that you were having personal problems that were affecting your judgment. He even sent a few anonymous emails to the company's senior partners, claiming you were drinking heavily and might be embezzling from client accounts. The calculated viciousness took Zara's breath away. Robert hadn't just been trying to leave her, he had been trying to destroy her completely. "We investigated everything, of course," James continued. "There was never any evidence to support any of his claims, but the fact that he was willing to try to destroy your career just to make his divorce easier, that tells you everything you need to know about his character." This confirmation from an impartial professional solidified Zara's understanding of Robert's true nature. That evening, Zara called an emergency meeting with Carmen. "This is perfect," Carmen said. "Robert's entire strategy has been based on portraying you as unstable and financially dependent on him. Getting a better job with higher pay completely undermines his narrative." "Won't he try to claim that my new salary should reduce any spousal support?" Zara asked. "He can try, but spousal support is based on the financial situation during the marriage, not after. Besides, the fact that you're able to land a better job immediately after leaving your old one just proves that his attempts to sabotage your career were baseless." Carmen pulled out a thick file. "Speaking of Robert's attempts at sabotage, we've documented every single one of his attacks on your reputation. The calls to your boss, the anonymous emails, the attempts to turn clients against you. In this state, that kind of behavior during divorce proceedings can result in additional financial penalties." "What kind of penalties?" "The kind that make cheating, lying husbands very sorry they decided to play dirty," Carmen said with satisfaction. "Zara, Robert thought he was playing chess while you were playing checkers. But it turns out you've been playing chess all along. You just didn't know it was a game until he showed you the board." This metaphor perfectly captures Zara's evolution from a naive participant to a strategic player, now fully aware of the stakes and the rules of the game. As Zara drove home that night, she passed the restaurant where she and Robert had planned to celebrate their anniversary. It felt like a lifetime ago. Now, less than 2 months later, she had a new job, a legal team systematically dismantling Robert's attempts to destroy her, and a growing network of friends and colleagues. Robert had wanted to leave her with nothing. Instead, his betrayal had forced her to discover how much she was capable of building on her own. Her phone buzzed with the text from Naina. "How did the job interview go?" "I got it," Zara typed back. "I start Monday." "That's my sister," Naina responded immediately. "Robert has no idea what he's unleashed." Zara smiled. Naina was right. Robert had spent months planning his escape, convinced he was the smart one. But he had made one crucial mistake. He had underestimated who he was dealing with. The woman he married would have quietly accepted his scraps. The woman he was divorcing was someone else entirely, someone who was just getting started showing him the price of betrayal. Zara's first day at Chin Marketing Solutions felt like stepping into a life she had forgotten she wanted. The office was modern and energetic. After years of worrying about office politics and Robert's influence, being judged purely on her abilities felt like breathing fresh air. "Your first assignment is going to be a trial by fire," Marcus warned. "Pinnacle Technologies is launching a new software platform in 6 weeks, and their entire marketing strategy just imploded. They need someone who can create a comprehensive campaign from scratch." "What happened to their previous strategy?" Zara asked. "Their marketing director turned out to be embezzling from the company, and when they fired him, they discovered that most of their campaign was plagiarized from competitors, so they're starting over completely 6 weeks before launch." The irony wasn't lost on Zara. After months of being accused by Robert of professional instability and ethical problems, her first major assignment was cleaning up after someone who had actually been guilty of the kind of misconduct Robert had tried to pin on her. "I'll need a team," Zara said, her mind already working. "Whatever you need," Marcus assured her. "Pinnacle is one of our biggest potential clients. If you can pull this off, it establishes you as the miracle worker who saves impossible situations." By the end of her first week, Zara had assembled a team and created a preliminary strategy that impressed everyone. More importantly, she had found her professional confidence again. Working with people who valued her expertise, she remembered why she had been successful in the first place. The Pinnacle campaign became her obsession. She worked late, not out of obligation, but because she was genuinely excited about what she was building. The software was innovative, and creating its marketing strategy felt like solving a fascinating puzzle. 3 weeks into the campaign, Marcus stopped by her office. "I just got an interesting phone call," he said, closing the door. "Someone claiming to be a former colleague of yours called to warn me that you're unstable and have a history of plagiarizing campaigns." Zara's stomach dropped. Even here, Robert was trying to destroy her reputation. "I assume you know who's behind this," Marcus continued. "My ex-husband," Zara said quietly. "He's been systematically trying to sabotage my career for months." "That's what I figured," Marcus said. And to Zara's surprise, he was smiling. "Here's the thing, though. The person who called made a critical mistake. They claimed you had plagiarized the Morrison Industries campaign that won the National Marketing Excellence Award 3 years ago." "I did win that award," Zara said, confused. "Exactly. You created that campaign. It was entirely original work, and it's been cited as an example of innovative marketing in 3 different industry publications. Whoever called me didn't realize that I was the one who nominated you for the award." The stupidity of Robert's sabotage attempt was almost funny. In trying to destroy her reputation, he had actually provided evidence of his dishonesty to one of the most influential people in her industry. "There's more," Marcus continued. "The caller also mentioned that you had been fired from your previous job for ethical violations. But I called James Patterson yesterday to verify your employment history, and he told me the real story about your ex-husband's harassment campaign." Zara felt a mix of gratitude and embarrassment. "Marcus, I'm sorry this is affecting my work here. I never wanted my personal problems to—" "Stop," Marcus interrupted. "Zara, this isn't affecting your work here. If anything, it's making me more confident that we made the right choice in hiring you. Anyone who threatens someone's career out of spite is exactly the kind of person you don't want to be married to." That afternoon, Zara called Carmen. "He called your new boss?" Carmen asked, sounding gleeful. "Please tell me you have documentation of this." "Marcus is willing to provide a statement," Zara confirmed. "Perfect. Robert just handed us another piece of evidence that he's been systematically trying to destroy your career. At this point, we have enough documentation of his harassment to request additional damages for intentional infliction of emotional distress." "What does that mean?" "It means Robert's divorce is about to get much more expensive than he planned," Carmen said with satisfaction. "It also means we can request a restraining order preventing him from contacting your employer or any of your professional contacts." The restraining order was granted within a week, along with a court order requiring Robert to cease all contact with Zara's professional network. The judge's comments during the hearing made it clear that Robert's behavior was not only inappropriate, but potentially criminal. "Mr. Thompson," the judge had said, "if you continue to harass your estranged wife's professional contacts, you will face contempt of court charges and possible criminal prosecution for stalking and harassment." Robert's escalating attempts at sabotage were now backfiring spectacularly, each move creating more legal leverage for Zara. Meanwhile, the Pinnacle campaign was exceeding everyone's expectations. Pre-orders were triple projections, and the marketing materials Zara's team had created were being praised throughout the industry. "I have a confession," Marcus told Zara. "When I offered you this job, I thought you were talented, but maybe a little too cautious, a little too focused on playing it safe. And now, I realize that you weren't cautious. You were being held back. Whatever your ex-husband did to undermine your confidence, it kept you from showing what you were really capable of." That evening, Zara sat in her new office, looking out at the city lights and thinking about the woman she had been 6 months ago. That woman had been talented, but afraid to take risks. Successful, but always worried about maintaining harmony. Accomplished, but constantly seeking approval from someone who had never valued her achievements. The woman she was becoming didn't need anyone's approval. She was building something that belonged entirely to her. A career that reflected her vision, a reputation based on her own accomplishments, a life that no one could take away from her. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. "Saw the article about your new campaign in Marketing Weekly. Impressive work. Congratulations, Patricia." Patricia Mills, Robert's previous victim, had been following her story. The message was brief, but its meaning was clear. Other women who had survived Robert's manipulation were cheering for her success. Zara typed back, "Thank you. I hope you're building something beautiful too." "I am," Patricia replied. "It gets easier every day." As Zara gathered her things, she realized Patricia was right. Every day, it got a little easier to remember who she was when no one was trying to diminish her. Every day, she got a little stronger, a little more confident in her own judgment, a little more certain that she was building something Robert could never touch. He had wanted to destroy her career. Instead, he had pushed her to discover a professional potential she had never fully explored. Now, she wasn't just surviving his betrayal, she was thriving because of it. The phone call came on a Tuesday morning while Zara was reviewing campaign metrics for what had become the most successful product launch in Pinnacle Technologies' history. Carmen's voice was practically vibrating with excitement. "Turn on Channel 7 News," Carmen said without preamble. "Right now." Zara pulled up the news website and found herself looking at a familiar face, Robert, haggard and desperate, outside the courthouse as reporters shouted questions. "Investigation into fraudulent bankruptcy filings has resulted in federal charges against local businessman Robert Thompson," the reporter was saying. Thompson, who was recently terminated from his position at Morrison Development for misuse of company resources, is accused of hiding assets and providing false information during divorce proceedings. Zara watched in fascination as Robert tried to push through the crowd, his lawyer pulling him toward a waiting car. This was the man who had been so confident, who had threatened her career and mocked her intelligence. Now he looked like exactly what he was, a man whose lies had finally caught up with him. "It gets better," Carmen said. "The bankruptcy fraud charges carry potential jail time, and the federal investigation has frozen all of his accounts, pending a complete audit of his finances. He can't access any money until they determine what belongs to creditors and what he was trying to hide from you." "What does this mean for our case?" "It means we've already won," Carmen said simply. "Robert can't afford to fight the divorce anymore, and his credibility is completely destroyed. His lawyer called me this morning wanting to discuss a settlement." The settlement offer that arrived that afternoon was more than Zara had dared to hope for. Robert was offering her the house, her full share of their marital assets, and substantial spousal support. In exchange, he wanted the proceedings to remain as private as possible, and for Zara to agree not to pursue additional damages for his harassment campaign. "What do you think?" Carmen asked. "I think he's scared," Zara said. "But I also think this is probably fair. I don't need to destroy him completely. I just needed him to face consequences for what he did." "You're being more generous than he deserves," Carmen observed. "Maybe, but I'm not doing this for him. I'm doing this for me. I want this chapter of my life to be over so I can focus on what comes next." This decision showcases Zara's evolved perspective. Her goal is no longer revenge, but closure and freedom to build her new life. The divorce was finalized 3 weeks later in a brief court hearing. Robert attended, looking like a shadow of his former self. Jessica was nowhere to be seen. According to Nina's sources, she had moved to another state, working as a receptionist, her corporate administration career effectively over. Robert's real estate development company had collapsed under the weight of the scandal, and his former business partners were suing him. The apartment he had shared with Jessica had been repossessed, and he was living in a studio apartment, working as a sales associate at a furniture store. "Do you feel bad for him?" Nina asked as they left the courthouse. Zara considered the question seriously. "I feel bad for the person I thought he was," she finally answered. "But that person was never real. The real Robert created this situation for himself." This profound distinction highlights the psychological recovery process, where victims learn to separate the idealized image of their abuser from their true, manipulative self. That evening, Zara sat in her living room now officially and completely, and tried to process the fact that it was over. After 8 months of legal battles, financial investigations, and emotional upheaval, she was finally free to move forward. The house felt different now that it was entirely hers. She had already started making changes, replacing Robert's bland decor with colors and furniture that reflected her personality. The walls now showcased photographs from her travels and paintings by local artists. Her phone rang. Marcus. "I have news," he said. "Good news. I'm ready for good news. The Pinnacle campaign just won the Regional Marketing Excellence Award, and you've been nominated for Marketer of the Year. Also, 3 other companies have specifically requested you to handle their campaigns." "Marcus, that's incredible." "It gets better. The board of directors wants to discuss making you a partner in the firm. Zara, you've accomplished in 6 months what most people take years to build." After they hung up, Zara walked out to her back garden and looked up at the stars. A year ago, she had been planning an anniversary dinner with a man who was secretly preparing to destroy her life. Tonight, she was a successful businesswoman, a survivor of financial abuse, and someone who had discovered strengths she never knew she possessed. Her phone buzzed. A message from Patricia Mills. "Saw the news about your award nomination. I'm so proud of you. You did what I was too scared to do. You fought back and won. Thank you for showing other women that it's possible." Zara typed back. "Thank you for reaching out when I needed to know I wasn't alone. Your support meant everything." "We survivors have to stick together," Patricia replied. "Maybe someday we can meet for coffee and celebrate how far we've both come." "I'd like that." As Zara got ready for bed in her house that was finally completely her own, she thought about the woman she had been when this journey started. That woman had defined herself through her relationship with someone who had never truly valued her. She had made herself smaller to fit into someone else's vision of who she should be. The woman she had become didn't need anyone else's approval or validation. She had built a career that reflected her own talents and ambitions. She had created a life that belonged entirely to her. Robert had wanted to break her, to leave her with nothing so that his new life would be easier. Instead, he had freed her to discover who she really was when no one was trying to diminish her. The justice wasn't just that he had faced consequences, though that was satisfying. The real justice was that she had emerged from his betrayal stronger, more successful, and happier than she had ever been when she was trying to make him happy. 6 months after her divorce was finalized, Zara stood in the kitchen of her newly renovated home, preparing dinner for friends who were coming over to celebrate her latest professional milestone. The space bore no resemblance to the sterile beige room where she had discovered those divorce papers almost 2 years ago. The walls were now painted a warm sage green. Copper pots hung from a rack, and fresh herbs grew on the windowsill. This was her kitchen now, designed for her preferences, filled with things that brought her joy. The doorbell rang, and Nana arrived with Sarah and Marcus, along with 2 other colleagues who had become genuine friends. As they gathered around the dining table, Zara had chosen herself, a rustic farm table Robert would have hated. She felt a contentment she couldn't remember experiencing during her marriage. "I still can't believe you're a partner now," Sarah said, raising her wine glass. "When we were in college, you always talked about running your own agency someday. I never thought it would happen this way," Zara admitted. "But maybe this was always where I was supposed to end up." "Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the best thing," Nana observed. "If Robert hadn't betrayed you, you might still be playing it safe at your old job, making yourself smaller to keep him comfortable." Marcus nodded. "I've seen it happen to other talented people. They get so focused on maintaining a relationship that they stop growing professionally. You've accomplished more in the past year than most people do in 5. The business partnership had been formalized the previous week, making Zara a full partner at Chin Marketing Solutions with equity in the company and complete creative control over her division. 3 major clients had followed her, and she had signed 4 new accounts. More importantly, she loved her work in a way she never had before. Without the constant worry about how her professional choices might affect Robert's ego or their marriage, she was free to take creative risks and pursue opportunities that genuinely excited her. "There's something else I want to tell you all," Zara said, as they moved to the living room for dessert. "I've been thinking about expanding beyond client work. I want to start offering pro bono marketing services to women's organizations and small businesses owned by people leaving abusive relationships." "That's beautiful," Sarah said, "using your success to help other people rebuild their lives." "I've been in touch with Patricia Mills," Zara added, "and she's interested in collaborating. She's a financial planner now, specializing in helping women regain control of their finances after divorce or financial abuse." The idea had been growing in Zara's mind for months. Every week, she received messages from women who had read about her case or heard her story. Women trapped in relationships with men who controlled their finances, undermined their careers, or isolated them. Women who needed to know that it was possible to rebuild after betrayal. "Have you thought about writing about your experience?" Marcus asked. Your story could help a lot of people." "Actually, I have," Zara said, pulling out a folder. "I've been working on articles for business publications about recognizing and recovering from professional sabotage. The Harvard Business Review wants to publish a piece about rebuilding your career after reputation attacks." The articles had started as therapy, a way to process her experience. But as she wrote, she realized her story wasn't just about surviving. It was about discovering strengths and building a more authentic life. As her friends left, Zara cleaned up, reflecting on how much her life had changed. The house was quiet, but it didn't feel lonely. It felt peaceful. She had learned the difference between being alone and being lonely, and she genuinely enjoyed her own company. Her phone buzzed with a text from Dr. Warren, who had become a mentor. "Saw the announcement about your partnership. So proud of you. Are you free for lunch next week? I have someone I'd like you to meet." "Who?" Zara typed back. "Someone who photographs stories of resilience and transformation. I think you two would have a lot to talk about." Zara smiled. She wasn't looking for romance, but she was always interested in meeting people who understood that life could be rebuilt after destruction, who saw strength in survival. The next morning brought another surprise. Carmen called with news that made Zara laugh out loud. "Robert's appealing his bankruptcy fraud conviction. Apparently, he's claiming that his actions were justified because you were financially irresponsible during your marriage." "Financially irresponsible?" Zara asked, incredulous. "I was the one who managed our budget, saved for our future, and built our emergency fund." "I know," Carmen said. "The appeal is going nowhere, obviously, but it tells you everything you need to know about his mindset. Even now, facing federal charges, he still believes he was the victim in your marriage." Zara no longer felt anger. His inability to take responsibility wasn't her problem anymore. "There is one more thing," Carmen continued. "Jessica contacted my office yesterday. She wants to meet with you." "Jessica, why?" "She says she has information about other women Robert was involved with during your marriage. Apparently, you weren't his only affair." The revelation should have been shocking, but Zara wasn't surprised. A man who could compartmentalize enough for one affair while planning a divorce could certainly have been conducting multiple. "She also wants to apologize," Carmen added. "She says she didn't understand the full scope of what Robert was doing to you until she became his next victim." Zara considered this. Meeting with Jessica served no legal purpose now, but there might be value in understanding the full picture. "Set up the meeting," Zara decided, "not for closure or forgiveness, but for information. If Robert has other victims, they deserve to know they're not alone." The meeting with Jessica took place the following week. The young woman who entered was nothing like the confident secretary Zara remembered. Jessica looked tired, older, genuinely remorseful. "I know you have no reason to listen to me," Jessica began, "but I needed you to know that I'm sorry, and I needed you to understand what really happened." Over the next hour, Jessica painted an even more disturbing picture of Robert. The affair began when Jessica was going through a difficult breakup, and Robert positioned himself as a mentor and friend. He gradually convinced her that Zara was emotionally abusive, that their marriage was a sham, and that he was trapped with someone unstable and controlling. "He showed me messages that he claimed were from you," Jessica explained, angry, irrational texts about money and his work schedule. "I believed him when he said you were trying to destroy his career out of jealousy." "Those messages weren't from me," Zara said quietly. "I know that now. After we moved in together, I realized that Robert creates drama wherever he goes. He would tell me that you were calling his friends trying to turn them against him, that you were spreading rumors, that you were threatening to destroy his business. But when I asked to see proof, he always had excuses." Jessica discovered Robert's pattern when she started experiencing it herself. He isolated her, controlled finances, undermined her confidence. "When he lost his job, he blamed you," Jessica continued. "He said you had orchestrated everything, but I was there. I saw the evidence of what he had been doing with company resources. He had been using company credit cards for our dates, charging personal expenses to business accounts, even having me handle his personal banking during work hours." "Why are you telling me this?" Zara asked. "Because there are others," Jessica said simply. "Robert was texting with at least 2 other women while we were together. One of them contacted me after she saw the news about his arrest. She said he had been telling her the same stories about being trapped in an abusive marriage, asking her to help him plan his escape. The scope of Robert's deception was breathtaking. He had been running multiple relationships using the same lies and manipulation. "I'm working with a therapist who specializes in abuse recovery," Jessica concluded. "She helped me understand that what Robert did to both of us was systematic emotional and financial abuse. I wanted you to know that I'm getting help, and I wanted to ask if you'd be willing to speak with the other women who were involved." Zara agreed, not out of obligation, but because she understood the value of shared information in recovery. 2 weeks later, she sat in a circle with 5 other women targeted by Robert. The stories were remarkably similar: isolation, financial control, professional sabotage, erosion of self-confidence through criticism disguised as concern. Robert had refined his techniques over years, becoming skilled at exploiting vulnerable women. "I feel stupid for falling for it," one woman said. "Don't," Zara said firmly. "You fell for it because he's good at it. That doesn't reflect poorly on your intelligence or judgment. It reflects poorly on his character." As the meeting ended, each woman exchanged contact information, agreeing to support each other. Driving home, Zara reflected on how far she had come. That woman who found divorce papers had believed Robert's betrayal reflected her inadequacy. She had been devastated by the apparent evidence that she wasn't worthy of love. The woman she had become understood Robert's behavior reflected his character, not hers. She had built a life more successful, more authentic, more fulfilling. The justice wasn't just his legal consequences. It was that she had transformed his attempt to destroy her into the foundation for something beautiful. 1 year after her divorce, Zara stood in the ballroom of the Grand Plaza Hotel, wearing a midnight blue dress that made her feel powerful and elegant. The annual Marketing Excellence Awards Gala. She was here not as someone's +1, but as a nominee for Marketer of the Year and a partner in a successful firm. The transformation was complete. She moved with confidence, engaging in conversations about her work, her vision, her advocacy for women in business. People sought her out because of her reputation and expertise, not because of who she was married to. "Zara Thompson," a voice called, and she turned to see Dr. Warren approaching with a tall man beside her. "I'd like you to meet Alex Rivera, the photographer I mentioned. Alex, this is Zara, the marketing genius I've been telling you about." Alex Rivera had kind eyes and an easy smile. His grip was firm but not dominating. "Dr. Warren tells me you specialize in photographing stories of resilience," Zara said. "I do documentary photography focused on people who've overcome significant challenges," Alex explained. "Survivors of abuse, refugees who've built new lives. I'm drawn to stories of transformation." "That's beautiful work," Zara said. "What draws you to those stories?" "I think there's power in showing people that survival is possible," Alex said. "Too often we focus on the trauma instead of the strength it takes to rebuild. I want to capture the beauty in that rebuilding process." They talked for over an hour. Alex was intelligent, successful, and interested in her experiences without trying to fix or save her. "I'd love to photograph your story someday," Alex said. "Not the trauma, but the triumph, the woman you've become." "I'd like that," Zara said, surprised by how much she meant it. They were interrupted by the awards ceremony. As Zara took her seat, she felt an anticipation she hadn't experienced in years. When her name was called as the winner of Marketer of the Year, the applause was genuine. Walking to the stage, she thought about her journey. 2 years ago, she began, I thought my career was over. I was facing professional sabotage, reputation attacks, and financial abuse from someone I trusted. Tonight, I'm standing here as a partner in an amazing firm, surrounded by colleagues who value my contributions, accepting an award for work that represents my authentic vision and abilities. She paused, looking out at the audience. I'm sharing this not for sympathy, but to say this. Your worth is not determined by someone else's treatment of you. Your potential is not limited by someone else's attempts to diminish you. And your future is not defined by your past, no matter how painful that past might be. The standing ovation was overwhelming. As Zara returned to her table, she felt complete ownership of her own success. After the ceremony, gathering her things, a familiar voice called, Zara! She turned. Robert stood near the entrance, wearing an ill-fitting suit, looking distinctly out of place. He had lost weight, his hair graying. He looked older, worn down by his choices. "Robert," she said calmly, "you shouldn't be here." "I know," he said quickly. I saw the award announcement online and I wanted to congratulate you. You deserve this recognition." Zara studied his face, looking for manipulation. Instead, she saw something that might have been genuine regret. "Thank you," she said simply. "Zara, I know I have no right to ask this, but I need you to know that I'm sorry. Not just for the divorce, but for everything. The way I treated you, the things I said about you, the way I tried to destroy what you'd built. You didn't deserve any of it." "No, I didn't," Zara agreed. "I've been going to therapy," Robert continued, "trying to understand why I did the things I did. My therapist says I have patterns of behavior that are destructive to myself and to people who care about me." "I'm glad you're getting help," Zara said, and she meant it. "But Robert, you need to understand something. I forgive you, not because you deserve forgiveness, but because carrying anger was holding me back from building the life I wanted." Robert nodded, tears in his eyes. "You've built something amazing. This award, your company, everything you've accomplished, I'm proud of you, even though I have no right to be." "You're right," Zara said gently but firmly. "You don't have the right to be proud of me. I didn't build this for you or to spite you. I built it for myself." "I know," Robert said. "I just wanted you to know that I see what you've become, and I understand what I lost." "What you lost was the chance to be part of something beautiful," Zara said. "But what I gained was the chance to discover who I really am when no one is trying to make me smaller." As Robert walked away, Zara felt a sense of closure she hadn't realized she needed. Not reconciliation, but the simple satisfaction of being seen by the person who had once tried to diminish her. Alex appeared at her side. "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. "I'm perfect," Zara said, and she meant it completely. "Alex, would you like to get coffee sometime? Not as a date, but as two people who understand that the best stories are about what comes after survival." "I'd love that," Alex said, his smile warm and genuine. As they walked out of the hotel, Zara reflected on her journey. 2 years ago, she had defined herself through a relationship with someone who never truly valued her. She had been successful but afraid to take risks, accomplished but constantly seeking approval, talented but always making herself smaller. Tonight, she was a woman who had built something that belonged entirely to her. She was successful on her own terms, respected for her own accomplishments, and genuinely happy. Robert had wanted to break her. Instead, he had freed her to discover strength she never knew she possessed. The real victory wasn't that he had faced consequences, though justice was satisfying. The real victory was that she had emerged from his betrayal stronger, more successful, and happier than she had ever been when she was trying to make him happy. She had learned that love shouldn't require you to make yourself smaller. She had learned that your worth isn't determined by someone else's ability to recognize it. And she had learned that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the beginning of the best thing that happens to you. As she drove home to her house that was entirely her own, to her life that reflected her choices and dreams, Zara smiled at the woman she had become. The woman who had found divorce papers in an anniversary gift was gone. In her place was someone who understood that the greatest revenge against betrayal isn't destroying the person who hurt you. It's building something so beautiful from the ashes that their attempt to break you becomes the foundation of your greatest triumph.